Ice cream trucks are a cornerstone of classic, nostalgic Americana. But where did they come from? How do they pick their routes? And don't those drivers get sick of hearing "Pop Goes the Weasel" over and over again all day? In this installment of Weird Food History, we're riding along with the Ice Cream Man and delving into the surprisingly dark history of ice cream trucks. But before we get started, be sure to subscribe to the Weird History Food channel. Then leave a comment and let us know what other tasty treats you would like to hear about. Okay, hope you brought enough good humor. Variations on ice cream have been enjoyed since ancient times, including Roman desserts made with snow as a key ingredient, Japanese kakigori, made by combining ice and flavored syrups, and sweet frozen drinks from ancient Persia. Modern ice cream wasn't invented until the 16th century, when crafty Europeans figured out that adding salt lowered the freezing point of water, keeping ice cold longer and allowing them to cool foods more quickly. And thus, sorbets and ice cream-style treats were born. The first recorded uses of the term ice cream started appearing around the 1670s and 80s. During the American Revolution, ice cream shops were common throughout the colonies, and it's said that many of the founding fathers, including Benjamin Franklin, George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and James Madison, were fans of the sweet treat. By the early 1900s, ice cream was everywhere in the U.S. Pushcarts selling ice cream were common in major cities, but there was just one sticky issue. It was an inconvenient snack when you were on the go. Scoops of ice cream were usually served in a small glass bowl, called a penny lick, that you'd have to return to the vendor when you were done eating. Even in a time with less general awareness of hygiene and germ theory, this was not particularly sanitary. Clearly, some more innovation was required. That innovation came from Iowa in the 1920s, where a shop owner named Christian Kent Nelson devised a method for coating ice cream in a hard chocolate shell, which he referred to as an Eskimo pie, because it's cold, I guess. Harry Bird of Youngstown, Ohio, started producing his own variation of the Eskimo pie, but attached to a small wooden stick, which helped keep your fingers from getting chocolate all over them. Bert called his invention the Good Humor Ice Cream Sucker, and then later just the Good Humor Bar. Bird assembled a fleet of 12 trucks, fitted them with rudimentary freezers, and sent them around the community selling Good Humor bars. He even outfitted the truck with bells from his son's old bobsled, in order to grab attention from bystanders and attract fresh business. And thus, the first ever ice cream trucks were born. Bert's initial fleet were classic Ford Model Ts, with few of the conveniences we associate with modern ice cream sales. For one, the driver couldn't sell treats from inside the truck. He had to get out of the cab, walk around to the back, and fetch the ice cream bars to hand out to the customers. Less than a year after Bert received his patent for Good Humor bars, in October of 1924, another entrepreneur named Frank Epperson received a patent of his own for making frozen ice treats on a stick. He called his products Popsicles. In 1926, a Canadian inventor named Brandon Lewis devised a new kind of ice cream making machine. His device introduced more air into the ice cream during the freezing process, making it softer and less dense. It became known as soft serve. By the 1930s, ice cream trucks had become widely popular across North America, with various brands competing for market share against Good Humor's expanding fleet, including Carvel and Dairy Queen. But the primary challenger to Good Humor's army of ice cream trucks was Mister Softee, founded in 1956 by brothers William and James Conway from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. The Conways had been working for Sweden Freezer Manufacturing Company, building milkshake machines, soft serve machines, and other ice cream-related gear. They observed that putting the machines in trucks was a profitable business, but also saw their clients repeatedly making obvious mistakes. Many of the trucks they were outfitting lacked shock absorbers, so the machines would get knocked around and jostled while driving around. Other trucks had machines that were poorly cleaned and maintained, or lacked the electrical power to properly keep the treats frozen at the right temperature. The Conways pitched their bosses at Sweden on letting them design a new kind of professional, top-quality ice cream truck. When upper management refused, they went into business for themselves. One of the Conways' chief innovations, aside from just taking proper care of their equipment, was hiring a Philadelphia ad executive named Les Waz to write them a memorable original song to play while driving around. Waz composed, by some accounts, up to 1,000 sample jingles before the team settled on the now extremely familiar ice cream truck tune, Jingle and Chimes. You may not know it by name, but you'd recognize it if you heard it. Mister Softee had arrived during a boom time for ice cream in America. Dairy products were rationed across the US and Europe during World War II, and when the restrictions were lifted, Americans were very excited to get back to enjoying milk products of all kinds. By 1946, the average American was back to consuming 20 quarts of ice cream each year. New manufacturers and trucks started springing up all across the country. From 1955 through 1970, Mister Softee franchising alone grew by an incredible 3,600%. Settlers started to experiment beyond the classic vanilla and chocolate Good Humor bar or soft serve cone and into new kinds of frozen dessert combinations. For example, ice cream trucks helped to popularize the iconic handheld ice cream sandwich. Even before Henry Burt's death in 1926, he'd come up with the idea of offering different ice cream flavors in his trucks, including chocolate, Neapolitan, and chocolate malt. By the 1960s, Good Humor had introduced a lineup of more than 85 different ice cream treats and flavors, including the classic red, white, and blue rocket popsicles, and branded ice cream bars designed to resemble pop culture characters. This period is considered the peak of ice cream truck mania in the US, with as many as 10,000 ice cream trucks operating nationwide at one time. By the 1970s, ice cream trucks were in serious decline. One key recurring problem was child safety.
Here's the problem right here. The discombobulator's disconnected. Okay, guys, you're all set. The ice cream should stay hard as a rock.
In the 70s and 80s, cities and states passed a number of regulations designed to make ice cream trucks more safe, including audible backup alarms, flashing lights, and posted signs alerting young customers to the dangers of fast-moving cars, and increasing the distance that trucks have to maintain from schools. Some cities mandated that drivers put out traffic cones whenever they made stops. Other areas required truck operators to submit to extensive background checks and carry $1 million or more in liability insurance. Many cities and towns either considered or actually passed bans on ice cream trucks, especially following situations where the trucks had caused traffic accidents. In 1986, the city of Carson, California, banned ice cream trucks, calling them a clear and present danger to children, after a young girl was killed in a truck-related traffic accident. Uncertainty about ownership and standards is also a key issue for the ice cream truck business. Most cities require ice cream truck drivers to work for an established company, to pass a background check and a public health inspection, and to get licensed before they hit the roads and start peddling their wares. But putting these requirements on the books doesn't actually mean that everyone will actually follow the rules. One local news investigation in 2019 around Lubbock, Texas, revealed that many of the drivers on the road are working independently and have not met some or any of these criteria. They're just random people selling ice cream from a truck. Another key factor ruining ice cream trucks for everyone is noise pollution. A number of cities have cracked down on ice cream trucks over their loud and aggressive jingles, including New York, which threatened to ban trucks entirely in 2004 as part of then-Mayor Mike Bloomberg's campaign against street noise. Ultimately, the city forged a compromise. Trucks can play music when they're in motion, but must turn it off when parked. Believe it or not, the histories of organized crime and ice cream trucks have been intertwined since the very beginning. When Good Humor was first entering the Chicago market, the local mob demanded $5,000 in protection money from the company. When they wouldn't pay up, gangsters planted bombs at the Armitage Avenue Good Humor factory and distribution center, destroying 2 trucks and a lot of equipment. But thankfully, no lives. Throughout the industry's history, feuds and cutthroat rivalries over territory have been surprisingly common. While New York's streets had been the near-exclusive domain of Mister Softee for decades, in 2013, an entrepreneur named Dimitrios Konstantakakos launched his own fleet of trucks hawking soft serve under the brand name Mister Softee. After being sued and forced legally to change that name, Konstantakakos went with another wildly creative backup option: New York ice cream. Simple, but effective. But after the courts, the 2 brands' fight moved into the streets. The New York Times reports that Mister Softee and New York ice cream have designated territories that are strictly enforced by drivers. If a Mister Softee driver heads into a neighborhood that isn't theirs, they're liable to be surrounded by rival trucks, with drivers threatening them and aggressively banging on their windows. One New York ice cream driver told the Times,
"You will never see a Mister Softee truck in Midtown." If you do, there will be problems.
Most infamously of all, in the early 1980s, the trucks led to an incident in Scotland known as the Glasgow Ice Cream Wars. Enterprising criminals recognized that ice cream trucks were a convenient way to covertly move illicit merchandise. This put the ice cream trucks at the center of a sinister black market economy, which culminated in a fatal arson attack at the home of a young ice cream truck driver. The 21st century has brought a number of key innovations to selling ice cream out of a truck. Your ice cream truck no longer needs a bright, colorful menu and a catchy tune to lure in nearby kids, when an Instagram account reaches a lot more potential customers at once. Some ice cream trucks even collect the email addresses or phone numbers of customers, and then sends them alerts when they're getting close to the area, which saves money on gas. Nonetheless, ice cream truck sales steadily declined from the 1980s on. While plenty of the trucks still do exist to this day, now they're more of a novelty. Mister Softee once counted over 2,000 trucks spread across 38 states in its fleet. Now, its entire U.S. operation is 630 trucks in just 21 states. While safety concerns and competition from food trucks selling every other kind of sweet and/or savory delight known to man have all played their role, the biggest obstacle to the mobile ice cream market is the widespread availability of ice cream itself. Today, most families with ice cream fans keep at least a pint or a gallon in the freezer at home for when they want to enjoy a quick scoop. That doesn't mean we won't still twist an ankle running outside when we hear that jingle. So what do you think? Do you miss the ice cream man? Let us know in the comments below. And while you're at it, check out some of these other weird history food videos.